All right, everybody. It is Tuesday, April the 19th, 2022. It's the Wake Up Crew, Ray G. Joined as always by my man Jay Rich to talk a little NBA prop bets for the playoff slate tonight. We have the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Memphis Grizzlies. And then on the late slate, got the Phoenix Suns and the New Orleans Pelicans getting it on tonight. Yesterday, Jay, listen. We were hit and miss yesterday, so let's quick review. So for me, one of my things that I am doing moving forward, I do believe there's significant edge in betting the fantasy score. So that's all I'm doing from here on out. Fantasy score, fantasy score, fantasy score. So make sure if you're watching this video, tap back in probably about an hour and a half before tip-off. I will post the plays that I like underneath in the comments. We'll pin them. So yesterday's, just to recap what we kind of talked about yesterday, before tip-off, I had Tobias Harris over fantasy score, Rudy Gobert, we talked about that on the show, the Joker, Fred VanVleet, Andrew Wiggins, Will Barton, and OG. Tobias, Van Fleet, and OG hit their fantasy score. Rudy Gobert missed. He did score more, got 17 boards, but we needed a little more scoring from Gobert. But I still think I'll like him going into the matchup at home. The Joker, he had 51.2 fantasy score before he got in his feelings and was ejected from the game with 7 minutes left. The process was there. The results sucked. Andrew Wiggins, his fantasy score was 27. He finished with 26.7, so bad beat there. And then Will Barton fighting with DeMarcus Cousins on the sideline. Fantasy score was 29. He had 27. The Nuggets got blown out, and it was a wrap for those guys. So overall, 50% on that one. Jay, how did you do last night?
Oh, man, not great. Royce O'Neal decided to turn into Kevin Durant and hit 4 threes. What are you going to do? He doubled his points that he's put out over his last 10 games as the maximum. And then James Harden decided to put it in park and played 41 minutes, only scoring 14 points and getting 6 assists. Didn't help that Tyrese Maxey was heavily involved in this game. He really took... talk about a play of the day. Tyrese Maxey over on his par has just been smashing lately. He's scoring 20 points a game. He had 8 rebounds, 8 assists yesterday. And then the one that did come through for me, though, Dwight Powell, he is not going to be involved in this series at all. It's been a terrible matchup, and we will be feeding off a similar narrative today. But yeah, the bets were not great for me yesterday, but the fantasy score model is hitting. And so you guys will definitely want to tune back in for that later on. We can project going forward. Like today, we can kind of talk about the ones we're going to like, but until we actually get the lines from PrizePicks, we won't be able to run them through the model. So make sure you tap back in, but we can definitely discuss what we're looking at today right now to give you that early look heading into the slate tonight.
For all the high-flying action, take a step back and relax. It's time to count that money, the NBA props. No look any further. You know what time it is. Presented by PrizePicks, NBA props. Let's
count that money, man. All right, Jay, so where do you want to start at for the slate of games tonight? Where do you want to go?
I think I want to start in Memphis, right? So this game, everyone knows it's space and pace. It's the top 2 teams in pace. We're going to see Anthony Edwards, John Morant, D'Angelo Russell. But the one guy that no one's going to see a whole lot of is going to be Steven Adams. Steven Adams under 20.5 on his par is a number I'm looking at right now. So Adams is coming off a game in a really poor effort where he did next to nothing trying to handle Cat. Like you can see, his par was only 6. One of the worst games he's played all year. Ja wasn't able to get him the ball. He was in foul trouble. They couldn't deal with Cat down low. And on top of that, they're playing against a team that runs even faster than they do. And this is not conducive to what Steven Adams does well. I think the pace environment is just what really kills Adams overall. He struggled lately hitting this number in one of his last 6 games. And on top of that, the sports books have this number at 19.5 with juice to the under. So PrizePicks is giving you some free juice on Steven Adams under 20.5. Minnesota also ranks 7th in center defense. So for me, this is one that I really, really like. Like we've talked about, the over-under on this game is 240 points. Last game, they put up 247. I just don't think this type of environment is beneficial for Steven Adams. They're going to need a lot more three-point shooting. They're going to need a lot more space on the floor. And Steven Adams is the one that really clogs that up in some respects. He sets great screens, plays good defense, can rebound, but they don't need that in this game. They have to keep up with Minnesota. And that's why I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Steven Adams and why I'm going to be taking the under in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. The pace, man. You saw that first quarter. I mean, they scored, I believe it was a combined 80-something points in the first quarter of their first matchup, and they're not slowing down. They want to get out and run. Ja Morant's taking it to the cup. Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns driving, scoring in the paint, putting Steven Adams in uncomfortable positions. I'm with you. I think it's an under on the par. I'm waiting for the fantasy score line to come out. If he plays a projected 25 minutes, we got his fantasy score at 27.8. I still think that's a little high for Steven Adams. So really interested to see, what PrizePicks likes to do normally. The par and the fantasy score are separated anywhere between 7 and 10 points. So if they've got Steven Adams anywhere in like the 30, if his fantasy score is 30, I'm taking the under on that. He played 24 minutes last game, 4 fouls, like you said. I just don't think this environment is conducive to what Steven Adams likes to do. And I think there are just a lot of good matchups in this game, Jay. And one of the players that I cannot wait to see what his fantasy score line comes out to is Karl Anthony Towns. Right here is pars at 37.5. We have him projected, if he plays 37 minutes, at 53 is his fantasy score, right? That's, again, 37 minutes, a little high. Cat gets a little handsy sometimes and can get his ass in foul trouble. But Karl Anthony Towns is a play that I will be looking at, not the par, but the fantasy score, taking the over on Karl Anthony Towns. If he plays, we got him projected, if he plays 35 minutes to hit 50.2 fantasy score. So again, check back in. Fantasy score doesn't come out on PrizePicks until a little bit later, and normally they do not move those lines. They will adjust points and par here and there, but fantasy score, once that comes out, that normally stays stagnant. It doesn't move, but I am looking at Karl Anthony Towns' fantasy score in this matchup, but I will post the plays pinned in the comments a little later today. Where are you going, Jay, with another play?
So I want to talk a little bit more speculation, right, and kind of what we think is going to happen. And I want to actually go towards the top of the board here and look at Trae Young. So Trae Young in his most recent game against Miami got just completely destroyed. He couldn't do anything. He didn't shoot the ball well. He was turning the ball over. Miami was just swarming him defensively. And I want to talk about this with you, Ray, because the problem for me is at 39.5, Trae Young has hit that number in 8 of his last 10 games. But he's coming off of a game where he only had 18 for his par. And that's the problem. And on top of that, he only averages 32 par against Miami. And going into this game, it's only 35. So where do you stand with Trae Young? And do you think he's got 30 points in him? Because if he doesn't, this could be a situation where the Heat get up again. They play really slow pace. And on top of that, they're just swarming Trae Young, getting the ball out of his hands and making his life terrible. So for me, I think I'm leaning towards the under. I may, like you said, look at the fantasy score here. But even at 40, knowing that he averages 32 against Miami, I don't necessarily think Trae Young's going to have 2 bad games in a row. But I also don't think things are going to get any easier for him today. Not having Clint Capella to set great screens is a big problem for Trae Young. And so for me, I think this is where you maybe want to look at an under again, because even on the books, they have it as an over right now. So I'm not saying it's a smash play, but it's one I'm definitely looking into as one of the ones I'm potentially going to be putting down today, because I think that Miami's just too big of a matchup for Trae Young in this game today. It's going to be a lot of trouble for him again.
So do you like Trae Young's? Do you like the par number at 39.5? Do you have the conviction to go under 39.5? I think Clint Capella being out is a problem, helping him set those screens. That's a problem. And I think Miami, they're a veteran team, man. They're a veteran team. There's no sort of big man down low that they have to be fearful of. I know Collins was back. But I think this is going to be tough sledding for Trae Young. Another game in Miami, correct? This game is in Miami.
Yep.
This is one where this is definitely an under for me in the fantasy score department, and where Trae Young really hurts himself too, which gives you some bonus points in the fantasy score, are the turnovers. The books have him projected at 4.5 turnovers. He had 6 turnovers last game, so that's -6 in that category for Trae Young. If he hits, that 4.5, if he gets 5 turnovers or potentially 6 turnovers, you get a little bit of an advantage with Trae Young's fantasy score with those turnovers. Again, another one I'm watching, but not core for me. I'm going back to Minnesota. I want this fast-paced matchup to take these overs. Anthony Edwards is turning into a superstar before our eyes. 33.5 par. Don't hate that number at all. But man, this dude is giving you a little something on both sides of the court, offensively and defensively. Last game, Anthony Edwards, blocks and steals, he had 3 of those things. So that's a 9 points right there. Over under 1.5 for this game with heavy juice to the over, minus 205 to the over for him to get 2 blocks and steals, which, again, just bonuses added. And one of the things I like about Fantasy Score, if you've got a player who can give you something on both ends of the floor, you get 1.5 per assist and 1.2 per rebound on top of the points you get for scoring. And Anthony Edwards is going to score. I don't think they have anybody on Memphis that can deal with him. His size, his athleticism, he's going to get his. Karl Anthony Towns, he's going to get his as well. So for me, in a mix and match concept, I really like Anthony Edwards. I want the 2 primary scorers on a team that's playing where the total is projected to go over under 240 points. I want that pace. Minnesota, they're playing damn good basketball right now, and it's led by Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. So maybe this is studs is going to be studs, stars are going to be stars, but I cannot wait to see what Anthony Edwards' fantasy score opens up at here on PrizePicks.
Yeah, and even at 33.5, you're talking about a guy who has averaged 30 points a game in the playoffs, right? The play-in technically is not the playoffs. In his playoff debut, he scored 36 points. So just on that alone, you're getting past his projected par total right now. Now, I don't think it's going to necessarily be as successful, but again, he played 40 minutes last game. He scored 36 points. I think we're going to see more of the same this game. He's going to be playing a lot, running the ball. He's going to be rebounding. He's good for, 3 to 4 assists a game, depending on the game. And like you said, he's going to chuck it up. He's not afraid, completely confident, not scared of the moment. And now that Minnesota has some confidence, we know that they're going to be running and gunning. Now, we did see John Morant post the Jordan video on his Instagram, so I'm sure he's highly motivated to get a win in Memphis. But I think where you're right, Ray, is that Anthony Edwards so far in his playoff atmosphere type of environment has been averaging 30 points alone. So to get 33.5 here for Anthony Edwards, I really like this number, and I expect him to play upwards of 40 minutes again because they know they're going to have to grind it out in Memphis, and they want to get that victory. And now that they got one, they have the confidence to get a second one. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think Anthony Edwards is going to be a big part of it if they do. And like you said, with that 240 total, all bets are off. Anthony Edwards could go off for at least 30 and has potential for much higher than that if he's really, really hot. Now, I want to kind of transition a little bit quickly, and I want to talk about Jonas Valenciunis, my guy,
yeah.
JV.
Oh, yeah.
Right? JV over 32.5 on his par. This is a guy who just had 25 rebounds in one game by himself, which is just insane. I believe he was at one point shooting 3 for 17 against DeAndre Ayton and still scored 18 points in this matchup. So again, what people need to understand is that with JV, you see the chart here, it shows 2 of 5, but a lot of that it's because he's not playing a ton of minutes down the stretch. And in that one playoff game, he got taken out of the game. It wasn't really an environment that he was able to succeed in. They had to come back and shoot their way back into it. That's not JV's game. But when he does play 30 minutes, he hits this number in 9 of his last 10 games. And on top of that, the books have this number at 33.5, and that is juiced to the over. So already you're getting a little bit of edge here with Jonas Valenciunis and Steven Adams to the directions that we like and ways that we're going to be placing good bets. So whether you think this line is good or not is up to you, but a lot of things are telling me over, and the books are telling you that they project a much higher line than PrizePicks is already giving us, and that's another reason why I really like this bet.
Yeah, I love this one, man. Even at his par, 32.5. But waiting to see his fantasy score because just I want to see how much differential. If he's going to get 15 boards, or I think his prop is set, his rebound total is at
12.5.
It's 12.5. I mean, again, 1.2 per rebound. I just want to see what the fantasy score opens up at, so we'll be tapping into that one as well. A couple of other plays that I will be monitoring: Kyle Lowry's fantasy score, Jimmy Butler's fantasy score, and then there's not a lot that I want to touch in the Phoenix side. Devin Booker's 3-point attempts, we talked about that last game, 2.5. He had 4 in the last matchup. Looked pretty good in that department. Chris Paul doing his thing. If I were going to do anything in the Phoenix game, it would be Devin Booker's 3-point attempts. Once again, still sitting at 2.5. I like the over on that. But fantasy score. Let's do a refresh real quick just to see if they have it up for the NBA. Nope, no fantasy score right now. So what we will do, as Jordan talked about at the beginning of the show, is we will post the fantasy score plays that we like, that we are betting, that we are putting into the model once PrizePicks releases those lines. For me, that's all I'm touching. All I'm touching is fantasy score for some of my picks throughout the NBA playoffs. Really think there's some significant edge that you can gain on PrizePicks there. If you like the content, subscribe, thumbs up, engage with us. Tell us what you're looking at. Tell us how you feel about these plays. And as always, if you tail, give them hail. And if we fail, don't bail. We'll be back with more data-driven analysis and process tomorrow. Good luck. Appreciate you. We're out.